Well, hey, everybody. This is Justin with Legacy Refuge, and we are here today with Hannah. How are you, Hannah?
Doing good today, Justin. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, what we're going to do today, if you watched yesterday, we interviewed a family, the Callahans, about their situation. And today we're continuing the conversation with families who have kiddos who are stuck either in Ukraine or in Europe somewhere, who know the kid, are trying to adopt them, trying to figure out how to get them home. And everything has just been stuck and everything has been sidelined. So if you guys are watching this, please share this, like this, comment on it. If you have questions, fill it in. And also, if you are listening, we're trying to ramp everybody up for a call-in day tomorrow. And if you want information, you want to help with these orphans to get them here, we're all across America. We are going to try to get everybody, hopefully thousands of people, to call and email their senators, their local representatives to say they care about this issue. If you want to be a part of that, you can go to legacyrefuge.org/advocate. And all the information's there. There's scripts to download. Everything's there. We'll remind you. So we want to get this out. But for now, we're going to hear some stories of kiddos. So Hannah, why don't you just share quick? How do you know you're a Ukrainian kiddo?
We met Daniel through World Children Resources when we hosted him in the winter of 2019-2020. And pretty early on, we started thinking about adopting him. He has one of those smiles that's just contagious and was very optimistic. I'm not going to say that every day was perfect because he was a teenage boy, but we enjoyed having him as a part of our family. But then, of course, shortly after he returned to Ukraine, COVID overtook our world, which put a hard stop to that whole thing. And we picked up the process in February of this year. We received approval as an adoptive family on January 17th. And we had anticipated traveling at the end of February. And of course, that did not happen, although we did travel at the beginning of March when we met Justin in Poland, working together with Legacy Refuge. And then we were able to follow our kids to Austria when they were evacuated. We, during our adoption process, agreed to adopt Daniel's younger sister, Radmila. We were able to meet her at that time as well.
That's great. So you had them at your place one time or more than that?
Yeah, no, just the once, because then there was no hosting in 2020. And since we were almost about to travel to Ukraine, we didn't think it was sensible to bring him over in December of last year because it was expensive and we were about to get him. So, so yeah, we missed out on that. So it had been over 2 years since we had seen him when we went. Wow. Earlier this year.
Well, I've seen some pictures and stuff, and it seems like you guys have a pretty good connection as a family.
Yeah, we've kept up with him. You know, we message all the time and FaceTime when we can, though the language barrier makes that harder than texting. But yeah, I would say 6 out of 7 days a week we're communicating with him, and now of course with Radmila as well.
That's amazing. And tell me again the ages.
Daniel is 15 and Radmila is 11.
That's amazing. And so what are their, as they were in Ukraine, moved out now to Austria, what is their language and conversation with you?
They're at a nice place. They're at it sort of looks like a hotel, but it used to be like a rehabilitation hospital. But they're incredibly bored. They are not allowed to leave. They stay there all the time. And even if they could leave, there's nothing to do. They're in the middle of nowhere. There's people who are, cooking for them and all of that. And they just started school last week, which was, they weren't excited about that. The situation for a lot of these orphanages that have evacuated is just, it's heartbreaking because not only have the kids lost their home, but the women who have traveled with them, their caregivers, have left behind their families, and in our case, the caregivers left with only the clothes on their backs. They were literally wearing the same clothes every day until we took them to get new clothes. And So you've got this handful of caregivers, in our case it's 5, and you have 75 kids and they're living in a hotel. It's do the math. It's not possible for 75 kids to be well supervised in that type of environment. It's not possible for them to receive one-on-one attention. And it's really just kind of a, every day it's how much longer? Have you heard any news? And I'll ask them, how is the food? Oh, it's fine, but I'd rather your chicken, So they're trying to settle into a pattern of somewhat normalcy, but they're really, really bored and tired of being there.
Well, if you're just tuning in, I don't know if you understand the situation, but there's over 300 kids that we've identified, families like Romero's, our family, the family we interviewed yesterday, and hundreds of other families who have hosted their kids in their home, either once or multiple times, started the adoption process, know and love the kid. Yet now that war has started, there's no pathway to get to the kids. Even though Ukraine normally hosts the kids summer and winter, there's just no way right now. They're saying, no, the kids can't leave. In America, we've talked to the state, whoever we're talking to, who is it, the secretary?
State Department.
The State Department. And they're basically saying, hey, we're doing the best we can. Everything's safe. But we all know that's not true because we've been to these orphanages and there's no legal way to get the kids here now.
No.
So that's why we're sharing our story, you guys, because we need your help to reach out, to make waves with the State Department, with the government, with whoever we can, to make a way to legally get these kids temporarily to America, to be with their families like Hannah and Brent, so that they can be in a healthy, safe place. So talk about that, Hannah. Like what have you been hearing from the State Department versus what is the desire? What is safe? What is not safe? What are you hearing?
The State Department seems to be running a broken record right now. Every response comes down to, well, they're not doing adoptions in Ukraine anymore. And it's almost like, well, thank you. We know that. And that's totally not what we're asking. We're asking that you coordinate with the Ukrainian government so that these kids who, let's be clear, when did the kids come back? January 30th, they returned to Ukraine from the last hosting. So these families were approved as of January 30th to house these children, but now all of a sudden, no, that doesn't make any sense. And as to the fact that they're safe, I'm sorry. I have lots of friends whose kids are still in Ukraine, living in bomb shelters 5 and 6 hours out of the day. That's not safe. And yes, I'm so blessed that my kids got out of Ukraine. But are they still safe? Like, I jokingly told one of the teachers, I was like, y'all better watch out. Y'all going to end up with a whole bunch of more kids in this place in about 9 months because they're living in a hotel with 50 teenagers, highly unsupervised.
Yeah. Well, it's the reality. Yeah, I mean, it's reality,
even if
right?
they're physically safe, who doesn't want to be with their mom during the most traumatic moment in their lives? Like, really? And it just doesn't make any sense for the State Department to keep saying they're not doing adoptions when no one is asking to do an adoption. They're just not listening. I know they're not stupid, so that just means that they're not listening.
Right. And I get it. They're looking at the overall, which overall, yeah, I get it. A lot of people can't come. A lot of kids can't come. There's human trafficking issues. That is absolutely true. But we're talking about 300 kids who already have really moms and dads in America that could come temporarily while the war is going until they can be returned. And there's just no waves getting through here to the State Department to say, this is what we need. Let's fight for it. I mean, all we've heard is that they're going to fight for about 11 families who already had court, right?
Right.
And so that leaves all of us who already have, I mean, we hosted our daughter 6 times.
Wow.
We've known her since she was 7. And now we're hearing there's no possible way. There's no adoptions, which I get. Okay, wartime, no adoptions. Yeah, well, how about getting them here temporarily? There's no better place these kids could be than in a family that already loves them during this already traumatic time.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Daniel's a teenage boy, so he doesn't really express his feelings that much. But ever since we were only able to stay with them about 5 days because they moved on the tail end of our trip. But ever since we left, he's been very discouraged and rightfully so. We are too. But, we're doing things. We're still contacting. We're still, interviewing and getting the message out there and begging and pleading. But he's just sitting there. He's sitting there and he's losing hope. And last week he knew we were having the Zoom with the State Department and with our attorney. And so he asked, if there was any news. And I said, no, nothing exciting today. And he said, well, I guess you just have to keep praying. And I thought, look at him trying to encourage me through all of this, and I don't know why anyone is against it. It doesn't make sense to me. The people who are with him are not against it. I thought we were about to walk out of the doors with them at one point until they got a phone call from somebody in Ukraine saying, you better not do that. So I don't know what else to say other than we need to become a big squeaking wheel, like a loud squeaky wheel. And that's why we're asking everybody, I don't care if they're not your representative, contact every representative in your state, contact both of your senators, let them know that this is a problem and it's not going to stand. It's getting shuffled to the back because a lot of these kids are not in imminent danger anymore. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean it's still not a problem. I mean, it's still a problem, and they need to be with people who genuinely love them. I've said it over and over again. It doesn't matter what a paper says. Daniel is my son. Radmila is my daughter. That's how I feel it in my heart. And that's how they feel it in their hearts. And so if they were to go to court, they would be asked, do you want to live with these people? And they would have to say yes. But now it's like, we don't care what you want. Right.
And it's maddening. It's, I've a few times have been trying to explain this to people who have no context of the situation. Right. And they're baffled. They're like, wait, they've been here before?
Yeah,
and you're willing to take them, but they won't let them come. Right. Yeah. I don't get it either. Like, it makes no sense.
Zero.
Why, at least for these specific kids who already have specific orphan status, who have families that love them, come heal, be in a healthy place. I mean, talk about trauma, compounding upon trauma.
Yes.
These kids have already had trauma of losing their families in the first place to become orphans. Now they've gone through war and fled their home country, second trauma. And now we're in facilities with tired, overworked staff and unable to have any hope for the future of a family because it's all stopped right now.
I know I feel really bad for the caregivers because my husband and I were group home foster parents and we only had 8 kids at a time. And when you didn't get your time off, like after a while, that kind of got old. And you're talking about 6 weeks now. They've been with those kids day in and day out without a single moment to themselves. Like, that's not creating a healthy environment for anybody. Because when mama's gets tired, it's too much. It's too much because it's like what, one person to every 15 kids, and you got half teenagers, half littles. They have little bitty kids there, and it's that situation repeated over and over and over again. Except some places they're still being bombed every day. And it doesn't make any sense that because every family that we're working for either has been approved by the Ukrainian government to be an adoptive parent, or they've been approved to host these children in their homes. So it's not like we're asking them to give kids to relative strangers. We're asking them to give kids to people who they've already agreed to give kids to. Yep. It's not a stretch. It's not. And for some reason, our government isn't wanting to step on board. I understand Ukraine's hesitation. They don't have the means or the desire at this point to track these kids. Nobody even knows how our kids got to Austria. I'm not kidding you. The caregivers don't know. The people who are taking care of them now don't know. Nobody knows. So I understand the problem with tracking kids, but these are not kids that need to be tracked. They're already tied to our families, and I think if the U.S. government would step up and say, hey, we're willing to vouch for these people, we're willing to make these exceptions, then Ukraine would be like, oh, okay, because they don't have time to deal with this right now. Right.
Yeah. And it's become clear that the ask of what we're asking has not been presented from the State Department to the government in Ukraine saying, hey, there's this many kids already matched, already with connections, already, the families have already been through home studies or safety visits or background checks. They're ready. And so that's what we're asking for everybody's hub watching to do. Let's make waves. Let's become a squeaky wheel. reach out to anybody and everybody. Tomorrow, we want to flood it as one group. Yep. Everybody, like, we want thousands of you guys to just email, call any of the government representatives you can to tell them this issue matters to you. And if you will go to our website, legacyrefuge.org/advocate, we have instructions, we have PDFs, we have all this stuff down. And go there, you guys, download it. If you want to put in your email, we'll email it to you, and we'll send you a reminder on tomorrow. And we're just asking for your help. Share this video, comment on it, like it. We want to share the stories of the families, but also give the kids a voice. And we want to all call tomorrow. And so if you guys will commit to doing that with us, it would be massive. And we all can't do everything. But if we all do a little something, it can make a massive, massive difference. So that's what we're asking. If everybody does a little bit in emails and calls tomorrow, it could really add up to make some waves to get the ear of those high up in the government to make a difference in this issue. So thank you. Yeah. Last words, Hannah, before we head out.
How often can making a phone call change a person's life? Like, really? That's what we're asking you to do. You're going to change my life. You're going to change 300 kids' lives, 200 other families, just by picking up the phone and making a phone call. Or if you don't want to talk on the phone, that's fine. Send an email. But do something to help us. So many people have said, how can we help you? And I haven't had a good answer, but this is how you help us give these kids a voice.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we have a comment here too from Natasha saying, yeah, and the other thing is a lot of the adoptive parents are trauma trained to deal with trauma. So, now instead of going from a group of 70 kids to 5, you're going from 1 to 1, or 2 kids to a family who are trauma trained and ready to deal with this. So help us advocate, you guys. Pray, share this. We thank you in advance. And let's keep fighting together. Thank you, Hannah and Brent, for all you guys are doing. God bless you guys.
You too.
Bye.